Alright, cool.
Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey!
It's your president and your VP. And we just got through watching
Fear Street, 1994. It's part one of Netflix's Fear Street trilogy.
Yeah, guys, this was pretty good overall. It pretty much begins with sort of like the stories that were, leading up to with clips of the different things of why Shadyside, which is a fictional town that R.L. Stine's Fear Street novels are based in, why these things keep happening.
Yeah, and guys, I saw the trailer for this like a couple weeks back when it was first announced. I was watching a YouTube video, and then it like popped up an ad for this. I'm like, wait a second, is this Fear Street? Because I recognize the name of Shadyside as the town that Fear Street takes place in, because I've read a few Fear Street novels myself, and yeah, let's just say that parents, you might wanna let your children sit this one out.
Yeah, it is definitely a TVMA or rated R film. However, we'll get into the logistics of all that in a little bit. It also kind of details the history of Sunnyvale as well, which is the town that is basically right next door to Shadyside. And in the picture, they portray Shadyside as the town with the dark past. And Shadyside is a rundown place to live. It's pretty depressed. Whereas Sunnyvale is like a rich suburb type community with gated fences and mansions galore. And it gives us more exposition into the character of Sarah Fear, who happens to be basically a witch.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah Fear, I think, is like she's an ancestor to Simon Fear.
Yeah.
Which is which is why Fear Street is named after Simon Fear.
Yeah, and now it's been a long, long time since I myself have read the novels, because these things actually date back to my childhood. And, it is refreshing to see my young son here get into the same type of stuff that I remember as a child, too. And, you want to pass these things along from generation to generation, these stories, these incredible, incredible novels as they were, because the whole idea behind R.L. Stine's Goosebumps and Fear Street novels was to get young readers and teen readers to read more.
Yeah.
So getting into all that, we are introduced right away to a character by, I already forgot his name.
Ryan Torrance or something like that.
Yeah, Ryan Torres. We're also introduced to a lady, a girl who is working at a bookshop, and
we have our first Fear Street Easter egg with this, guys. The wrong number.
Yeah. And Ryan Torres, he is the masked skull killer, and he basically chases this girl around the mall, and we more or less get a Scream reference here, too, because the death is enacted basically the exact same way as the Casey Becker death from the beginning of Scream.
Yeah, and it's like there's a shot that's exactly like Scream with this, because like she's running, and then you see the killer run up, and then you see that slow motion just boom.
And then he turns her over, and she pulls the mask off, and it's Ryan Torres. And, if you remember Scream, guys, those of you who have seen it, that's exactly what happens with Casey Becker, too. Yeah. She pulls the mask off, although you don't see the face in that movie.
Yeah. And then Ryan
is promptly shot in the head by a security guard or a cop. Now,
a cop.
Sunnyside had all these past
Shadyside
had all these past incidents of violent acts, massacres left and right, dating back to 1666.
Yeah,
where we are pretty much they don't really explain exactly what happened to Sarah Fear, but she dies a pretty horrible death too, and has basically put a curse on the town, and that is why things are happening.
They're gonna reveal it in part 3 of what happened.
Well,
to
we're
Sarah
not
Fear.
there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet, guys.
So then we're quickly introduced to the character of Dina, and I already forgot his name.
Josh.
I was just going to call him the witch nerd because he's extremely obsessed with the witch, Sarah Fear.
Yeah.
And he believes that Sarah Fear is responsible for everything. Now, of course, they live in Shadyside, and then, unfortunately, guys, and I don't know why, but listen, you know, we here have promoted diversity on our channel as well, but I really didn't feel like they needed to put a, how shall I put this? A girl-to-girl relationship.
Yeah.
In the film. But her girlfriend, Dina's girlfriend, had moved to Sunnyvale.
Well, at first it was her ex, and then she got back together, and blah, blah, blah. It's complicated.
Yeah. They go to a vigil for the massacre that had happened at the Shadyside Mall, and Sunnyvale's football team and cheerleaders are there. And, of course, as we had already mentioned, Dina's ex-girlfriend is a cheerleader who is with kind of a... he's the stereotypical jock. Peter is.
Yeah.
And you know the type, the bully type, the one that does what he does.
And then there's basically there's this fight scene between Shadyside and Sunnyvale, and
Sunnyvale, they decide to try to get even with Shadyside, and a bunch of them are in a car, and they decide they're going to chase the car. But Dina, who's still mad at Samantha, that's the name of her ex, by the way, she's still mad at her, so she decides that she's going to open the door, and they're going to throw basically a jug of Gatorade at them. Only Dina has a nosebleed, and it causes the little joke, prank, whatever you want to call it. It ends with them being in a car accident, Peter and Samantha. Samantha gets out of the car. She has a nosebleed, which I think I didn't realize this at first, but I think this is what brought the witch basically back, the witch's curse on her, because her nose bleeds, and it bleeds right on the ground,
and she touches the bones.
She desecrates the bones of Sarah Fear. Now, this leads to some severe problems because Dina, she still has feelings for Sam, and she goes to the hospital, and
she tries to tell her what's what, and then Peter is there, and he's acting all like, hey, you're trying to hit on my girlfriend or something, and then they have this big fight, and then all of a sudden you see Peter, he groans, he's like, ugh! And then you see that a knife just is basically sticking out of him, and it pulls back, and then you see it's the Skull Mask Killer.
Yeah, who, of course, we know is Ryan Torres, who is dead, so everybody's like, how's this happening? And they go to the police station to kind of explain things because of what's been going on, and as they're trying to explain what's happening, one of their other friends, he approaches this girl who is slitting her wrists. And in the process of this, he gets attacked.
Yeah.
And they end up shooting her. But it doesn't stop her, because these are ghosts, basically, of the said massacres.
Yeah, and the reason why this is happening is because they want Sam's blood.
Yeah, that's revealed. And it's also revealed that C. Burnham had survived the massacre of 1978. And they attempt to contact her in order to stop it. They try a couple of different things at first. They try shooting the serial killer ghosts. They then try blowing them up, which doesn't work.
Yeah.
None of this works. In the meantime, we get Dina and Samantha kind of mending their relationship. At which point I thought, yeah, sure. You've got time to make out with each other when there's a mother witch after you. I mean, what are you thinking, people?
Yeah, and just to skip a few parts, because honestly, just to skip a few parts, then they find out that Sam has to die and then be brought back in order to skip out on the witch's curse.
Dina, though.
But Dina, though, they then go to this drugstore where then when they try drugging up Sam, and then they have Sam's blood on them, and so
because they're acting as basically bait.
And then what happens
to distract them
is that the first kill. This is awesome, guys. The first kill is Kate. Kate, she puts up a fight, okay, but then the killer, the skull mask killer, pins her down to the thing, and there's like some blades that are rotating, and then
it's basically what amounts to a meat shaver.
Yeah, a meat shaver. And I'm like, if they actually do this kill is going to be awesome. And they do. And he like shoves her right through the meat shaver, and then you just.
Yeah, it's a fun thrill ride. Now I must say, Dina in this movie, in my opinion, is very, very, very selfish.
She is.
Because she is willing to sacrifice her friends
and her
brother for her relationship with Sam.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that Simon, he also gets killed, but it's in a more boring way, by the way. He gets an axe to the head.
And so, they kill Sam, and they bring her back. And then they go to
By the way, they try bringing her back in the stupidest way possible. They try using epinephrine when they drowned her. I'm like, you gotta use CPR. You gotta chest compression.
And I'm sorry.
Get the freaking water out of her
But first
lungs.
of all, and I will also add that I know a little bit about CPR myself.
I do too.
You gotta clear the airway. You gotta get that mouth open. And no way, shape, or form was that even was that shown. She didn't attempt to clear the airway at all. The mouth was completely closed. So it's entirely implausible that she was... I mean, I guess it is possible, but it's somewhat implausible because she didn't go through the right necessary steps in the first place. But they managed to bring her back. They take her to the police department, and they explain...
They all say that they fell on glass trying to get prescriptions for Sam's meds, and blah, 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 blah.
And they all blame it on the other two, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Because they're dead. Like, Kate's head, her head is...
And they claim that it was a couple of junkies, and they weren't really junkies. They were actually just kind of selling drugs. And I'm not condoning this in any way, shape, or form. But in this instance, they were kind of selling drugs as a way out of their predicament. You know, guys out there, don't ever do that. There are always other ways.
And so then what happens next is that C. Burnham, she gets a hold of Dina and Josh and says that the curse is never over. She will always find a way. And then we see this long list of names. You see Ruby Lane, you see the Camp Nightwing Killer, which is...
You see Ryan Torres.
You see Ryan Torres, and then... You see this rock, okay? You see the bottom of this rock, and then there's a name that's carved out, and it's Samantha.
And Samantha goes into hysterics, and she attempts to kill Dina, who manages to subdue her, but not before suffering a stab wound herself. And she says, I will bring you back. I'm kind of skeptical, because as the way that they segued into the part 2 of it, time changes, evil doesn't. So we're going to have to wait and see next week.
So to be continued with Fear Street Part 2 coming out July 9th.
Which we will probably be able to... We'll be able to do it, but we'll have to watch it on the laptop or something and bring it. So a couple of quick... well, first of all, I'm going to say 4 out of 5. What say you?
I'm going to say 4.5 out of 5. It's a decent film, and... Again, there's subtle references to Fear Street, and
I would have preferred if this had been
if it was a straightforward Fear Street story.
Yeah, If it had been based off of, say, you know, The Wrong Number or The New Girl,
or if they wanted to do a trilogy, the cheerleader trilogy,
or even 99 Fear Street,
yeah,
you know, which had explored the origins of Simon Fear in the first place. But yeah, I mean, okay, so that gives it a total combined score out of for us, 4.25 out of 5. You can find it on Netflix right now. Just dropped at midnight, so check it out, guys.
Yeah.
But of course, if you've already seen the film and you think that Fear Street 1994 is the worst thing that you've ever seen, well, you're wrong, but that's your opinion. But hey, just remember, we're just two idiots with a cell phone camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't. So, having said all that, guys, we'll see you guys here in a little bit with our Walker review, because we're going to get the new episode of Walker out if it's available. And if not, look for some other stuff from us later today. Also, be with us next week when we go on vacation. We're finally going on vacation as a family.
Yeah.
But part of that vacation is for our very special 1-year anniversary video.
The Forever
Purge. You guys will be seeing it right after we get through watching it. So, with that being said, there's only one thing left to say, and that is peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.